What do they know that we don't? Why are we walking right into their trap? And what exactly is happening here right now? Major announcements from Donald Trump and the Trump family, and Strategy B has revealed a massive Bitcoin purchase. All this and much more in this video. Hey, and welcome to Crypto Owl. Yeah, no video last week. The reason is simple. The nice weather lured me outside and the new pool is just so tempting that I thought, nope, making videos is going to be tough. But I did make a few short clips. As you've noticed, I try to put something out every day, but often it's pretty tough to find interesting topics to make a short clip about. Alright, enough about me. Let's move on to the market update. We start there and take a look at Bitcoin, and we can see that, of course, after this Iran or Israel-Iran conflict, attack, war, call it what you want, Bitcoin really took a hit, just like the entire market, to be honest. So everything crashed down together on that Friday. You could see that during the night, and I also made a few shorts about it. I know that a lot of people are interested in this topic. I'm not a military expert. I'm not someone who likes to report on war. I always try to approach it from a perspective like the oil price, the gold price, but of course also the Bitcoin price. But if you're interested in the whole topic and you say, I'd like to get a situation report, I want to know what's going on, and I want it to be independent and not framed by the media or by any particular political direction, whether left or right, then I recommend this YouTube channel to you. This is truly a recommendation. Military and History with Thorsten Heinrich. Just enter Thorsten Heinrich. I'll also be happy to link it for you. He has only, in quotation marks, about 270,000 followers, but I can tell you he's very active here if you look at his view counts. He really ought to have a lot more followers. I haven't watched the videos with this account yet. That's why you don't see that I've clicked on them. That's simply because I don't want to influence the algorithm with it, but if you want to check it out, he has situation reports on all topics here. I know a lot of people are interested in that. I can't convey that myself. I don't even want to say it, but if you're interested in the topic, what's the current situation? What's happening there right now? What has been hit? Who is attacking right now? How? Who? What? Where? And he's a military expert, I would say. So checking it out is a recommendation if you're interested in the topic. Let's move on and take a look at the SP500. It's going up a bit right now. We'll also briefly touch on the topic of war again in a moment because there are some interesting news items about it. And as I said, they know something we don't, because if you take another look at the Bitcoin chart, you'll see that it has actually reacted positively over the last few hours, about the last 12 hours. We can see that here in these few 4-hour candles, of course, there have been some profit taking again, but initially it reacted positively, even though this conflict is still ongoing. There are currently a few reports about this. We'll take a closer look at that in a moment. Let's take a quick look at gold. Gold at the same time has dropped again. So Bitcoin is up, risk assets are up, and gold is down. We'll take another look at exactly what happened there in a moment. And at the same time, there's another indicator that these reports are very likely even true. Let's quickly look at WTI. That's this one here. We can also see that the oil price has dropped again, and by roughly the same proportion. We'll get into exactly what's going on there in just a moment. Before we get to the news that's out there, every day you ask me, and I totally understand, when are you going to introduce a new cryptocurrency again? What's happening with Stien? And what about Kafka? What about Massa? And so on. You just have to be honest, and we can see ITO, at least I see it here every day. The retail investors simply aren't around at the moment. It's really just the big money that's present. They're playing around a bit, investing, moving things back and forth. But there's also selling going on. We'll get into that again in a moment. And something is being coordinated here, or at least they know something. The big money knows something that we don't. It's really tough right now, and as a result, altcoins or other cryptocurrencies are being pushed down massively simply because there aren't any people around to buy them. A big investor might say, Massa, what's that? Kaspa, not really on the radar yet. If it ever makes it into the top 20 or top 10, then things might look different, but right now it just doesn't play a big role for the big money. But you can clearly see the big money is dominating at the moment. The small money just isn't there right now. Unfortunately, that's how it is. Let's dive into the news, the world's headlines. Yesterday, Eric Trump wrote, Trump, announcement is coming. Yes, and what exactly they're planning here, we're waiting for it, or rather, something has now come out, so let's take a look. They have Trump Mobile. Yes, they've now launched Trump Mobile, a gold phone. Of course, with Trump, everything is gold and a wireless service. So they're working on building up Trump Mobile. I'm very curious about this. Once again, the Trump organization is bringing Trump Mobile to the market. This company will offer phones manufactured in the USA. So new phones for the USA. A major Apple competitor, who knows? But that wasn't the big announcement we were expecting, because what does World Liberty Finance, which is more crypto-based, have to do with a mobile phone? No, the big announcement has just come, and that is that Truth Social, the social media platform of former US President Donald Trump, is now launching its own ETF. This is not a joke. Here is the application for it. No kidding here. They want to launch a firm and Bitcoin ETF from Truth Social, yes? Now you might be wondering, what does a social media platform have to do with Bitcoin? Yes, of course he presents himself a bit as someone who stands for Bitcoin, but also for firms with his World Liberty Finance. And to be honest, Why would you then launch a Bitcoin ETF? Trump's sons have already taken over or bought into a US mining company now. I can't remember the name right now in any case. They've acquired a Bitcoin mining company and want to scale it up. And now they're launching a Bitcoin ETF. This means that you could sell the Bitcoins even more easily here without even bringing them to the market, but simply by selling them from the mining company directly into the ETF. That's pretty clever. And to be honest, of course, they're making money from it, and that's what it's all about. So they're launching an ETF. If you invest in it, they manage the Bitcoins and the companies. You have nothing to do with it. So the big money is saying, hey, I don't need a ledger. I don't need a Targum. I don't have to worry about it. I just go there and buy in and pay a certain fee for it. That fee is, of course, nice because then Donald Trump makes money from it, or rather the Trump family, World Liberty Finance, and the whole thing is up and running. They've made a few more euros again. And that's basically the whole plan. Make money and mine Bitcoin in the background, which means they don't even have to buy it since they already have it within the family circle, right? This is, of course, quite a sensational piece of news at first. And Bitcoin, well, now you can speculate about whether it has reacted to this in the last hour. Yeah, that's difficult to say. So I would rather say no than yes, but in any case, it's out there now and it's coming. If you now say you also want to buy cryptocurrencies, then Blowfin has a great offer for you, which is still valid. Specifically, if you register there using my link, you'll get 20% cashback on your first stablecoin deposit, and you can use that 20% for trading and withdraw all the profits because you can buy and trade cryptocurrencies on Blowfin, whether in the browser or in their own app. By signing up with Blowfin, you get access to over 500 cryptocurrencies, plus another 800 through futures trading. You can even try copy trading or trading bots here, and even test yourself with demo trading to see if you can make profits. Blowfin and Crypto Yule are celebrating a partnership, and this is being marked with 20% cashback on your first deposit. This is limited to $500 and only for the first users until May 31st. So signing up and making a deposit could be doubly rewarding here. Depositing euros and receiving cryptocurrencies is very easy with their partners, for example, Simplex and others. But other currencies are also available here. In addition to their reward hub, where you can earn extra rewards, you can also generate massive income in this area, either flexibly or with fixed terms, for example, for 180 days, such as here with 2.56% on USDT. Check out the fastest growing crypto exchange of the past 3 years and get an additional 20% cashback. Remember, this offer is limited. What does big money actually know compared to us about all the topics that are coming up here? If you look at the numbers from my end, I find these very interesting. Around mid to late May 25, there was this breakout. There was a massive, or rather larger, sell-off among institutional clients, that is, those who invest institutionally. And among retail or private clients, in other words, individual investors, there was a higher level of buying. It was quite interesting to observe, to be honest, because I'm not entirely sure what it all means. So did they already know here that war was looming? And retail investors then said again in May, now we're really going all in. It's pretty difficult to assess the whole thing, but it was interesting to watch. So all of this difficult to categorize, but it suggests that the institutional investors already suspected something, or there's a very simple explanation. The retailers or private investors got hyped up again and said, hey, something's about to happen here. In May, things are going up again, and they put even more money in. And the institutional investors said, hey, sell in May and go away. But remember, come back in September. So the institutional investors had already kicked off the summer slump, while the retail, that is the private investor, said, now we're going to pull out a few more euros. There's no summer slump here. And in the end, it still happens, most likely triggered by this Israeli attack on Iran to prevent the atomic bomb. Yes, and here we are back at the topic. Because I mention it quite often right now, since it's actually still active compared to many other media outlets at the moment, that's really the case. Are there talks between the US and Israel? And ambassadors have already been dispatched to find peace agreements, according to the Wall Street Journal. And according to reports, Iran has also signaled that it wants to de-escalate hostilities with Israeli policy. And supposedly the market already knew more than 12 hours in advance that this would happen. That would explain exactly what I showed you at the beginning of the video. Namely, if we take another look at Bitcoin, on the 4-hour chart, it has reacted positively within the last 12 hours. If we take another look at the SPX, it also started off positive today. Gold, on the other hand, dropped because now you can supposedly invest in risk assets again, like Bitcoin or stocks. And gold is the safe haven when there's a war, because then I have something tangible in my hand. But if there isn't going to be a war after all, because things are de-escalating, then gold drops again. And once again, WTI, I really need to save this here. WTI, the oil price has dropped again, because if they don't want to close off this route, which I also showed you in a short explaining why the oil price shot up after Israel's attack on Iran. It's because Iran could have closed this narrow route through which not only oil, but also a lot of gas trade passes, so a lot of ships. If that gets closed off, of course, the oil price goes up. And now, as things could de-escalate, everything is dropping again. So gold is falling, oil is falling, stocks are rising, Bitcoin is rising. Crazy, isn't it? So what's going on there? Did the market know this from the very beginning? Did it say, look, Iran actually doesn't have any major options left, especially since these, let's say, like militarily speaking, these light drones, which are actually easy to shoot down, have been flying back and forth over Iran. And Iran had no air defense. And Israel kind of showed them up a bit, saying, look, my drones are flying around here. You can't shoot them down anymore. I don't know, maybe at that point they thought, we really don't have any other way out. It's really hard to assess. But you can clearly see here that the big money is always one step ahead of the small money. Whether it's with things like this, assessing situations of war or possible de-escalations or, well, global events, political world affairs, they're always one step ahead. And whether they really just traditionally say, look, at the end of May, we always sell every year anyway, then we'll just do it again. So they know more than we small retail investors, and we only find out when it happens and can basically just watch helplessly. At least that's how it looks. Yeah, and there's someone who says, look, I always buy Bitcoin anyway. I don't care where the price is. That's Michael Saylor, or rather Strategy B and Strategy Bus, I call them. They're actually just called Strategy. But I think adding the B at the end, Strategy B, everyone knows what I mean. Because if I just say strategy, someone might ask, which strategy? No, Strategy B has announced a massive purchase. That's insane. And this time, they didn't just buy 1,000 Bitcoin. Like before, they made a much larger purchase, acquiring a total of 10,000 Bitcoin in a single transaction. That's right, 10,000 Bitcoin, which is 10 times more than their previous buy. The total cost for this massive acquisition was $1.05 billion US, and the average price paid per Bitcoin was $104,080. This significant investment marks a major step up from the earlier purchase. That's insane. And that means, as of the date of June 15th, 2025, today Strategy B owns, as of now, 592,100 Bitcoin. Do you guys remember when this all started, when Michael Saylor talked about the beginnings of Strategy and all this buying up of Bitcoin, and we also talked about it here in the live streams and so on, back when we were still actively doing live streams? Well, that kind of fizzled out, but why wouldn't it? Who's even watching us? Who wants to watch us on a Friday night? 10 people, maybe, if that. The market has died down and we're heading into summer. The weather outside is great. I could do live streams from the pool, but then you guys wouldn't be in the pool. That's difficult. In any case, back then I said, when they had about 120, let's say 150,000 Bitcoin, I said I strongly assume his main goal will be, and there might be a little stop along the way, that he wants to have 210,000 Bitcoin. Why 210,000 Bitcoin? That would be exactly 1% of 21 million. Yes, and now he already has, or the company already has 592,100 Bitcoin. Incredible. And as I said, here's a comparison. That was the last purchase where they got 1,000 Bitcoin, and then as of June 8th. So you have to consider June 8th. They made another purchase just 8 days ago. So now, once again, it's incredible what's happening there. So a strategy is really working out there, the Strategy B. Yes, that's all for the current news. And as you can see, following the news is difficult and it's hard to make sense of everything. If we take a look at the charts here, yes, Casper was also able to recover a bit. And if we look at others as well, I don't even know, which cryptocurrency are you interested in right now? Ethereum has actually remained stable, but also dropped due to this attack and is now holding steady again. I've always said that 2.5 is the number where it will hold. They are hovering around that level a bit here, and now they've broken out a little again. And what about others? Yes, Medic. Solana might even be an ETF coming up for it. An ETF might also be coming for AVAX, but with Solana, I'd say it's the most likely because the community, or rather the investors and the applications submitted entries, I should say, very likely to be approved since they've been at it for a while, like Avalanche, for example. Matic as a second layer, there's not really much happening anymore. And otherwise, as I said, write it in the comments. Let me know which cryptocurrency or about which cryptocurrency you'd like to know more. So I know where I could maybe make a few videos that people are actually interested in. Because I think if I were to make an Ethereum video now, way fewer people would watch it compared to these more general videos, for example. So the whole topic is pretty tough right now because a lot of people already have their minds on summer vacation. Yeah. With that in mind, I hope you were still able to take something away from this video. It's just a quiet phase at the moment. Altcoins, cryptocurrencies, it's pretty hard to assess everything right now. The market is very, very quiet. We can see that. The big money is playing its games or has already positioned itself. No, that was it for the summer. We're heading off on summer vacation, or, well, they just keep investing happily. Like in this case with Strategy Bohava, people are investing in Strategy B and buying Bitcoins for that. Feel free to leave comments about all these topics in the in the comment section. Remember our free Telegram group. Check out Blowfin for 20% off, and today there's also 20% off at Tangam. You can still take advantage of that, but only today, only on the 16th of June. After that, the 20% is over and there will only be 10% off. With that in mind, thank you very much for watching and see you in the next video.